Maximilian Carlo Martini was born in New York to an Italian father and an American mother. He is a citizen of the United States, Canada, and Italy and speaks Italian fluently. His Roman father was a sculptor and doctor of philosophy and phenomenology and instilled in him an appreciation for all things creative. His mother was a Texas law enforcement officer. After moving around a bit as a child, Martini made his way back to New York City and began to study acting. He started out at the Neighborhood Playhouse intensive, but did the majority of his training privately with Michael Howard in Manhattan. After launching Theater North Collaborative New York City, staging new works in both the United States and Canada, Martini took a break from the stage to focus on his early love of fine art. He attended the School of Visual Arts in Manhattan, where he received his BFA of painting and sculpture. Martini starred in George Clooney's feature, The Tender Bar for Amazon Studios, as well as the recently aired USA Network television series, The Purge. In 2019, he completed directing his second feature film, The Manson Brothers Midnight Zombie Massacre, his directorial debut. Sergeant Will Gardner he starred in along with Omari Hart, Lily Rabe, Robert Patrick, Dermot Mulroney, Elizabeth Rome, and Gary Sinise. Martini starred in season 1 of the Netflix series The Order. Additionally, he starred in Bigger, Michael Bay's 13 Hours, Del Toro's Pacific Rim, and Paul Greengrass' Captain Phillips. Martini is recognized from such films as Steven Spielberg's Saving Private Ryan, the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy, David Mamet's Red Belt, David Ayer's Sabotage, and the legendary Universal feature Spectral. Max Martini also starred in the television series, the unit which ran for 4 years on CBS. Max Martini has over 32 film titles and 200 segments of television. Anyhow, Max, how are you today, man?
I'm good. I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Dude, you've got just a fantastic resume. And I was going through and I found a lot. Listen, we even saw My Little Pony, so we're going to talk about that. Because I don't know how you transitioned from the movies you were doing to that. Maybe it was the balance out everything. But got some questions for you. So there's this artistic sensibility that you put into your movies. And it tells me that even though you have this incredible persona on screen as this warfighter, there's this artistic sensibility that you have as well. Where does that come from? I mean, did it come from your family? Did that come from school? Where'd you pick that up?
Well, my father was a sculptor, so he introed me to the arts, and then my mother, who was in law enforcement, she remarried an actor director named Stuart Margolin, and he came into my life when I was about 10, 11 years old. And so he kind of dangled, the film and television world in front of me a little bit, and he'd throw me into things that he was directing. And so I got the bug, but I actually went to art school. I got my degree in fine arts. And then when I got out of art school, I got asked to audition for a movie, and I got flown to Los Angeles, and I got it, and I just got I took a detour and never went back to art, but I've always had an appreciation for it, and I thought I had a buddy that was struggling with PTS, and distractions distractions that he was passionate about seemed to help, and were recommended to him. And so, I gave that character in the movie, this love of reading, this kind of, and getting lost in these words and these poems that would, inspire him to heal and move forward. So it worked for the story, and and I thought the combination of the two, as far as the film went, was kind of cool.
No, I really liked it. Some people didn't like it, but I did. I mean, I thought it was like rituals, like a rosary. You're saying things as a way to push away the universe and to handle what's inside that world of yours, that structure that you create, because you're dealing with the stress, and so you're trying to contain that. And that's what I got out of it. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. And I mean, look, I mean, there, I did that movie at a point in my life. I was already on the unit. I'd gone overseas to meet with the guys and the troops a couple times already, I was so inspired to get involved in military charity work and dedicate my celebrity and my efforts to helping veterans, because I'm a huge patriot. And but I'm also an artist, and it was my way of kind of fusing the two worlds together. I know a lot of guys, man, that have come back from combat and have found themselves. For instance, Warrior's Heart is one of the charities, one of the foundations that I support, started by a former Delta operator buddy of mine. And, they have a whole art program for their veterans that are suffering. They go into the woodworking, the wood shop, or they go into the metal shop and they make flags and they make artwork. And, it's a real thing. It's like animals, art, things that help you, heal. And I felt it important that, people that don't understand it or didn't like it may not have yet been introduced to it, because it truly is an outlet for a lot of people that are suffering, and it helps me. I mean, I don't have those ailments, but it definitely helps me.
But you understand that as an artist, I think you get into the sensibility of man or humanity. I mean, I got that when I watched the movie. I mean, I saw him as a shambling mess. And I saw this guy as a shambling wreck, going around trying to figure things out. And I got that. And so I could see it through the movie where these flashbacks. So he's reciting the poetry, right? And then it goes back to the flashbacks to the combat scenes. And again, it becomes this thing of structure and no structure. So the combat is all kinetic. And then you go back to the poetry, which brings it all together. These things that are important, these things that make us human, these things that make us peaceful beings, these things that we love, that we are so far away from, right? So veterans go away and they go into war, and it's very dynamic, very kinetic, and then they come back. What do? People say, oh, okay, they shoot guns. Well, yeah, they do, but a lot of veterans I know, and a lot of the guys that I know in special forces or SOF, are planting gardens, or they're doing pottery, or they're doing woodworking or knife making or something that creates versus destroying. And that's the way I got out of Will Gardner.
I just think it's whatever therapy works for you. I mean, a lot of guys, range therapy works. It works for me too. I love getting on shooting, man. I mean, motorcycles, right? That was another thing. It's like, I know so many veterans that ride. I'm a huge biker, so it's just finding your, the mechanism that helps you move forward, right?
So let's talk about shooting. I mean, so I saw you with Duran Tactical, and you're obviously very capable. So did you always get into firearms? I mean, where did your experience with firearms come into? In the teen years?
Well, like I said, my mother was in law enforcement. So there were always guns in the house. And but I did Saving Private Ryan. That was my first military film. And it was my first training experience. So every time you do one of these movies, and I've been so fortunate as to have been part of these big ones. So I've gotten great training, and from really, high speed tier 1 guys. And I think I just kind of, I got taken out live fire training, and I fell in love with it, man. I realized I was good at it, and I fell in love with the retelling of these stories, and so I realized at a certain point that I had a passion for, I love tactics. I love tactical work. I love CQB. That's kind of, that's my Disneyland, but I also feel like I have a responsibility to portray soldiers properly and to not, give it 48 hours of training and go in and wing it. It's like you want to, the way that the guys that I, portray operate, you can't wing it. You got to know what you're doing. So I put the hours in, man, and I love it. I'm out there a lot.
No, actually, what's funny is all the veterans I know that watch movies pull movies apart and say that part was wrong. That part was wrong.
Oh yeah.
And I'll tell you, I saw the unit and I saw you saluting. I said, he got it right, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you snapped that. And I'm like, it's not all bent. It's not all weird. And I said, thank God. God bless this guy.
We had those that are sort of aware of how that series came to be. It was inspired and taken by a book that Eric Haney wrote called Inside Delta Force, and a lot of controversy there. I know there were some guys that weren't happy he wrote that, but it inspired this show, and we had a huge fan base. And Eric was on set for a long time. He was there, every second of the day that we were filming, making sure that we got things right, that we were tactically sound, and then we had Pete Blaber come on. He's another Delta commander.
Yeah, I interviewed Pete last year. Great guy.
Yeah.
Super duper smart. Yeah.
So very smart. Great guy. Really smart. So we had guys on set making sure it was running smoothly and properly.
So I saw a YouTube video you did with Michael Hearn and Jonathan, right? So and it was interesting to me. So you got these friends and you guys talk about not being like Hollywood, and so what I'm asking is, what do you think of as your peers or your mentors, or who do you fraternize with outside of Hollywood? Is it a certain grouping or demographic that you like to fraternize with and hang out and learn from?
Outside of Hollywood?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, like my sort of base of friends are largely military. I have a group of buddies that we go back 30 years, and we've stayed super tight, that I grew up with, and they're actors, but they're not. You know what I mean? It's like they're guys that want to pay the bills, that have a special talent, and nobody's in it to become famous, or nobody's in it to but then outside of this industry, it's primarily, I have military buddies, man. I mean, I'm in this, this business is so consuming that and you're constantly hustling for work, and every time a job comes up, unless it's a career ender, you pretty much have to take it, unless you're in a position, which I'm not in that position where I can, I have the luxury of turning down huge money jobs because I have a family to support. But but I try to be selective if I'm able to.
No, that's a great answer, because I didn't know how that works. So you have to take certain jobs, and that makes sense. And I've seen it even in our own industry. You turn down a job and they just don't call you anymore. Yeah. But you've had some great movies. I mean, The Great Raid, 13 Hours. I mean, these are fantastic. You were even in Red Belt, which I did not know, which is one of my favorite movies, which a lot of people haven't even heard about, or they pan it. But I love that movie. But you're in there, and so you've done quite a bit. Now you've taken on this new TV series, right, with Bosch, right?
So I did one season of Bosch. Yeah.
Yeah.
I only did one season, so I'm not continuing on it. But
okay.
Titus Welliver's an old buddy of mine, another one that goes back 30 years, and super fun to get on screen with him, and that was at home, which is nice too. That was a luxury. That was in Los Angeles.
So what are your what's your favorite movie role of all the action roles that you did, and is there a particular movie that you didn't care to make?
That I didn't care to make?
Yeah.
There's a couple that
okay.
I didn't care to. Yeah.
And if you don't have to tell us, but
there's a handful that I wish would go away.
Right. Well, how about your favorite movie role? What was your favorite action role of all the movies, like the 13 Hours, the Unit, etc.?
And
why?
Well, I'll tell you what. So 13 Hours was the most meaningful for me. One, because there were a lot of elements in that film that I thought the public wasn't aware of, that I thought needed to get out. Horrible what happened to those guys and Chris Stevens, and I just was very excited to be part of that. Very excited to play Mark Geist, who, I don't know if you've seen us together, but we look so much.
I have. Yeah, you guys look like brothers almost. Yeah, very close.
And we bonded. I love the guys that we played, and so I think that was one of my favorite features. Creatively, I did a movie that George Clooney directed called The Tinder Bar with Ben Affleck, and that came out at the tail end of the pandemic, and so creatively, that was probably my favorite role that I've played. It was just, I played a really awful, chain smoking, boozy, kind of, horrible father to the lead kid. But it was a character that I don't get to play often, that I really got to sink my teeth into. And,
yeah, you do a lot of heroic roles. Do you know Chris Ferranto at all? I mean, did you get to meet him as well?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
he's great, man. He came on my show, and I was blown away. He actually said he's going to blow his brains out in the shower, and I was just like stunned, So because we did the episode 10 years after Benghazi, and I just asked him, Chris, what's your take on it? And so, very strange, just what happened, and the fact that these guys went through it and were able to talk about it, and thank God for guys like you were able to play these movie roles with such elan to do it so well. That's fantastic to us, So
Michael Bay's best film, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So how do you mentally and emotionally prepare for a movie role? I mean, some people don't talk to me. I'm in the role, I'm in the mood, this mindset now. I mean, is that you or?
No, I'm not that guy. I mean, it's I can turn it on and turn it off pretty quick. And the preparation outside of the training, which is always fun. And it always, kind of, can I swear on the show?
Absolutely. Go for it.
It always unfucks the actors, right? They say at the beginning of these training sessions, we got to unfuck these actors, right? So what it does is it forces you to check your ego, leave it at the door, come in, you build the unit together, you build the camaraderie, you build the tactical work together, you start working off each other. And, so you go through that, and that translates on screen very well. And then, for me, I got to work with Mark Geist, and we got to, we spent a lot of time on the phone. We spent a lot of time in Malta together, and kind of figure out who you're playing, what he's all about, and then also, what their strengths were, what got them through, what I'm sure, Chris had, some problems, sorting through that experience. I know Tig did, and so we're dealing with that on screen, right? I mean, that's what you're.
Yeah, Chris had said that he knew they were going to make so much money. I mean, I guess there was just this discussion, infighting. How are we going to do this movie deal? And I think the producer said, "Stop! You guys are going to make so much money. You're going to be, And he got caught up in it. And he said he had to step away for a minute, but he realized this was a story that needed to be told. And they said, "We're going to tell it seriously. This is not a joke to us. This is something that's going to be told and told well." And Chris was very appreciative of that. He had said, just the fact that. They're going from where they were as military vets or GRS guys all of a sudden to Hollywood. They didn't know how to handle it.
Yeah, they didn't know much about it. I mean, we had a lot of talks about, sort of what the future looked like after post movie, and it was very foreign to them, the reality is that there's very few movies that come out that just, set you on this, path of riches and fame, and it doesn't really happen that way. I mean, it's kind of, I'm sure they made money off it, you know, and I'm sure it launched, you know, other projects that they wanted to do or charities that they were involved in. But, you know, I mean, it takes a huge hit, and you have to, I don't know what, I mean, I've done huge movies, and I mean, I still struggle, man. I mean, I still I'm like everybody else. I'm like, you know, the pandemic hit me hard financially. It hit, you know, there's a lot of things that are happening in Hollywood that you know, are making it difficult for me to find work, and you know, and so it's you know, there's it's not really what it's made out to be. I mean, I don't know what their experience was after the Mark and I still talk, but
well, let me ask you about rejection. I mean, how do you deal with rejection, knowing that you wanted a certain role? I mean, what's that like for you? And it's just like getting cut on a team, man. You know, like you did not make the unit. You didn't make.
Well, so here's the thing. So I have a buddy that you know, did buds twice.
Yeah.
Right. And I liken it to that. It's a weird comparison, but you know, it either beats you up and you become bitter, right? And that stench of bitterness is not attractive to people that you're looking to hire you, right? So it's the kiss of death, or it pisses you off and it motivates you to keep going and to push harder. For me, it motivates me. I'm like, I mean, I am a warrior in the sense that I don't take no. So if you say no to me, I'm gonna figure out a way to change your mind. I'm gonna keep moving. So rejection kind of fueled me. I mean, I have one of my two boys is looking to get into film. You know, and that's a conversation that we're having because he's really not seen much of the rejection. He's seen, you know, the trips to Malta to go film 13 hours. And while I'm working, he's out, you know, hanging on the beach. And, you know, I mean, he's seen that part of the business.
Right.
But, you know, you need thick skin for sure. I mean,
well, you know, I mean, I heard about David Niven, the actor, the British actor. He was a SAS commando, right? An officer. And he got all the ladies, made all the money, made all the Hollywood movies. And he said that he had imposter syndrome. He felt that one day, and he wrote this in his book, that a man was going to come up behind him and tap him on the shoulder and says, "Sir, come here. You've been found out." Is that something you ever struggle with? I know some people have said that they just don't feel like they are who they're supposed to be.
It's not. It's not, and and I'll tell you why. Because I feel like I had a difficult upbringing, and I survived it, right? And I have a lot of life experience behind me that I really don't talk about often, but I do. I feel like I have a place in this business because I feel like I have something to contribute, you know, and as long as you have something to contribute, and look, I guess if I didn't have anything to contribute, I would have died out a long time ago, right? But I'm still in it, and people are still hiring me for some reason, you know, like I said earlier, right? I think I'm fooling them, but but you know, but I think as long as you're a contributor, maybe you can avoid that. I don't know. I've never really felt like I didn't belong. I sort of, I feel like the thing that is tough for me is when I lose a role to somebody that might be better looking, or somebody that might have more, you know, followers, or somebody that you know has a movie coming out that has a little bit of hype, you know, when they choose somebody for those reasons over, you know, me as an artist, that's when I really have a hard time with it. But you know, but again, it motivates me because I know eventually.
But you know, I mean, you're saying like you have a purpose. It was funny because I was watching a video on an interview on Stephanie Zemblis Jr., right? And she said that acting was a gift from God, and that she was able to connect with that audience. And she felt that it was very carnal or very sensual, this acting, but it moved her to a this high spirit, of connection with God, this idea that she was serving people. And I can see that as an actor, or just as a veteran, you have purpose and meaning and being. And if you don't, you're going to get lost and drift. But so this is a personal question: are you a person of some kind of faith? And if so, how do you apply it to your everyday life?
Well, look, I'm going to just comment on what you said earlier. And I'm going to change my answer from my favorite movie.
Sure.
I'm going to go to Sergeant Will Gardner because, look, I'm not saying that it was the perfect movie about, a guy suffering. I tried to add a comedic element to that too, so that it was digestible, because I didn't want to sit there and beat people over the head for 2 hours, I wanted this guy to kind of remain heroic, but the direct messages, and this is no exaggeration, thousands of direct messages from veterans going, you got me into rehab, you got me back. I sat there and cried through this whole movie, and it's brought up so many things that I realize I haven't dealt with. Thank you messages, this, that. Can you recommend a treatment center? Can you, and it was in that moment that, that's when you go, oh, there is a much higher value that you in this industry that you can attain. It's like when I realized that the power of film to actually create this kind of change or inspiration for people is
well, I thought the scene with you and your buddy in the coffee shop, you're having ice cream. So it's freaking just ice cream or something. I don't remember what the line was. It's pretty funny. The interaction with your buddy, your partner in the movie, Will Gardner.
Yeah.
You push him around the grocery cart, and
Yeah.
I got the comedic elements of that for sure. And then you didn't tie up the end. It was almost kind of open ending, and it's not this happy ending like a lot of movies are supposed to be. That's what we want.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked it that way, actually. But that was very spiritual for me. I mean, I was talking to veterans. I was on the phone with them. I mean, it was really. And yes, I do I do believe that there is a higher power, and I turn to that higher power often.
Well, let me ask you about crisis moment, and I don't mean in the sense that you have a mental breakdown and leave California or something like that, but did you have a major obstacle in your career where you just said, I can't do this anymore and I'm just going to walk away? Or if you did, how did you gain control of that and go back into the fight? I mean, was it a rejection movie, or was it a divorce or something? And so for our audience, we have to check ourselves, and we have to be able to regulate our emotions, and we have to call friends if sometimes. But what do you do?
There were I quit twice.
Okay.
And packed it in and swore I was never going to go back. And it was primarily because it wasn't syncing with what I wanted in life. It wasn't allowing me to get to where I wanted in life. In short, I wasn't making the money to get me to where I could support a family that I wanted to create, and things. So I did give up a couple of times, but I went back to it because I felt like I believed what I was saying. When my most fearful moments in my career are when I'm on camera and I don't believe what I'm saying, and it's like, I can't even explain it to you, man. I mean, it's terrifying because you have people all around you. There's 150 people around you, and an actor in front of you, and actors over here, and everybody's watching you. And if you don't believe what you're saying, you're lying, right?
Yeah.
And that's when I become most insecure. And I did have a moment where in the Clooney movie where like he was, you know, I was the very first scene of the film, and I was on the phone with my kid talking about my alcoholism and that I quit. I was lying to him. I had a drink and I told him I quit. And I looked up, and Clooney and Ben Affleck were at the monitor, you know, staring at me, watching me. And I was like, oh my God, this is a little freaky. But you know, and then you put yourself in check and go, okay, just 5%, 5%. So but you know, it's really it's when I'm lying to my, you know, that's a scary thing for me. But in terms of your question, I just I realized that I needed to make money to have my family. There were things in life that I wanted, and it wasn't giving it to me. And then I went back and just said, keep fucking, you know, keep going, don't give up.
Well, let's ask a different question. I mean, what's the most beautiful moment you've had in movie making, or a beautiful moment being in the community of actors, you know, where there's maybe some connection with other actors, or something that you rose to the level that you thought you could? What's the most beautiful moment for you?
Well, you know, I had a moment at the, and I tell this often in interviews because it was impactful for me. But I had a moment at the premiere of Private Ryan where we were sitting in the audience, and I'm sitting with a bunch of veterans of that war, all 90, and that first scene came on, that first battle scene on the beach, and when that was over, I turned and looked at these guys, and they were cheers. Their faces were drenched, and they were sitting there, you know, watching, just dumbfounded. And I remember thinking, oh my God, this is gonna start a whole conversation that these guys have been sitting on for years, decades. I mean, and I remember thinking, this is a pretty special moment, you know.
That movie was fantastic, and not just kudos to, you know, Spielberg, but to you guys. I mean, I watched that movie twice on the same day. I didn't know what I was getting into. Sat in my chair, looked at my brother, said, "Oh my God, I've got to go get another ticket," and I did. And I mean, it was gut wrenching, but what you guys did, it was fantastic. I mean, that was a wonderful, wonderful movie, well made. You know,
I don't think we realized what we were making, to tell you the truth.
Really?
Well, you know, there's always shenanigans on set. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't think we quite realized how impactful that film was going to be. I think he got a lot of good actors. I don't know that I don't know that we all realized that it was going to, like I said, start this conversation. I think the New York Times did an article about, you know, how movies like that sort of, you know, forced these veterans of that war to open up, you know, about experiences they've been sitting on, you know, and couldn't talk about, you know, and because we were kids. I mean, you know, maybe I'm wrong. I'm speaking. You know, I'm presuming that we all didn't realize what we were doing, but maybe Spielberg did.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of weird. I think like the Hollywood in a lot of ways shifts the culture, right? It's written by writers, and then they change culture, probably not always directly, but indirectly. And then it influences so many people. We want to wear those clothes. We want to be those guys. And so that's kind of cool. I mean, if you can make it, it's timely in a sense. I think that was a movie that we needed at that time.
Yeah.
These guys had their moment. I mean, look at Vietnam. People came back and they're spat on, right? And so now we have these movies. What did we have in the 1970s? I mean, we had like, I don't know. There's so many movies with Ron Winkler, Henry Winkler, and et cetera, you know, that people didn't, or the one with the Nick Nolte, right? So
what was the most impactful film for you that you've seen?
You know, it's really interesting to me as far as an impactful film, and then the ones with you in it. The most impactful for me was 13 Hours. Actually, one of the guys in my unit, David Ubben, was the Department of State guy. He was in my military unit when he separated and got that job. And I just remember him telling me he got the job. And I said, "What do you think?" And he said, "Man, we did not get a lot of training. They gave us some armor, 2 weeks of schooling, and we're gone." And I said, "Holy cow." And then it happened on TV. And I said, "This is crazy." But that movie was incredible. The telling of it, Saving Private Ryan. But I would have to say Sergeant Will Gardner was quite good to me. And I think a lot of people didn't like the movie, but I did. And I could relate to it in a lot of ways. I mean, I was scrolling through the comments on YouTube and people saying, "Thank God for this movie. This movie saved my life," or "I can relate to this movie," or "I'm crying tears. I watched this movie for 2 hours and I'm crying throughout the whole thing." That was powerful. So it's not always these Hollywood blockbusters that resonate, but it resonated with me because I could understand this, what I call a shambling mess of a man who had a life, and that life was taken away because he served. And then he's reading poetry, but it shows that he's an educated person. He's not this dumb man. I mean, he's a very profound thinker. And so I can kind of relate to that, just the idea that a veteran is a person who has took a lot of hits, but he's also very resilient. That's why we like warriors. I mean, they're the guys who take fights to the world. And warriors could be anyone. It could be a plumber standing up for his rights, at work, or it could be a janitor, or it could be a Delta operator. But
were you involved in martial arts? Or were you?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What jiu-jitsu or?
So I've done a plethora. I've done Wing Chun. I've done karate. I've done boxing. And I wrote a book about some of my experiences, but I could relate to it, because I've been out there in the street and I've done it, and it's different. You can theorize about things, but when you actually get out there and do it, it becomes different. It's no longer theory. Yeah. And then that's the application of what you've learned your entire life, just like acting. And then you put it to the test and say, does this work or doesn't work?
It's interesting. My kids are my oldest in particular is really interested in boxing. I boxed for a long time. And, I say this to him all the time. I'm like, you can train, you train. But eventually it's like working on a car, right? You're not going to work on the car, just leave it in the garage. You got to take it out and drive it.
Yeah.
So and then your training starts all over again. Because there's I know a lot of guys, I mean, including myself, when you've spent so much time working on technique, you get in the ring with somebody in front of you, and suddenly everything you've learned goes out the window, and you're fighting your breath and your heart rate and your anxiety, and you're trying to find your technique again and implement it in the situation. And I really love martial arts for that reason. It's a real kind of
it does, and it's the difference between what I call theorists and practitioners. And the theorists, they're out there, Steven Seagal and all the guys, and that's why we watch his movies, because we want to see someone who's not credible. We want to laugh at that. But when we see something that is, these guys out there, they're doing a great job on film, like Bruce Lee or whatever. But yeah, you get in the ring and it's gross motor skills. It's not some secret technique. You just rely on what you've learned in practice over and over and over again. A basic punch, a basic uppercut, basic, whatever, front kick. And that's it. And everything else it's not ballet, man. It's pretty gross and visceral and raw. And that's the way it ends up sometimes, right on the street, right on the floor. But acting, I think, can be the same, because you're getting into something you don't know anything about, and you don't know how it's going to pan out. And it's going to change. The dynamic is going to change, and all you can control is your breathing.
Well, they say when you get in trouble in the ring, you resort back to your technique, right?
Right.
Go back to your basics, and it's the same with acting. I mean, there really is it's not like people think. You can't just jump in it and be amazing. I mean, maybe some people can. I can't. The majority of people can't. There is a technique, and there are ways to apply these kind of,
right. And I meant not techniques, but secret technique, like in the Karate Kid, where he says crane kick. It's not going to be like that, man. It's the basics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So So we see you working out all the time, right? At the gym. And, I saw some YouTube videos of you doing that. Real cool stuff. So have you always been athletic? Is that something you've always done? Or is that something you picked up just for the Hollywood movie world?
No, I've always been. I mean, I was heavily in sports when I was growing up, and like I said, I found boxing. I wish I would have found MMA earlier because I felt I was a little late in discovering that. I'm a huge fan, but I just kind of went to weightlifting and boxing, which so I'll hit the weights for movies, but then my love is really getting in the ring. I love.
All right, so let's ask who's your money on, Zuck or Elon Musk?
Oh my God!
I mean, come on, can you believe that?
I know. I don't even know what's happening.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm going to put my money on Elon. I don't know.
I think I'm going to go with Elon too.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that he said he wants to do it, he's probably got some, hidden talent that we're not aware of. So, yeah. So, as far as your big break, I mean, it seems to me, just speaking to you, that you have all these great movies, but it's just a grind. You have to work all the time, and I think people have these ideas that somehow you make millions of dollars and you're always fine, but there's taxes and all the obligations you have, your agent, etc. And so, but it sounds like you also do because you have a love for it, right? There's a passion here.
I do have a love for it. Yeah, I do. Yeah, and I of my entire body of work, I'd say 75% of it were jobs that I was beside myself, to have been given the opportunity to do. 25% were money jobs that, and very questionable things that, you go, oh God, no one's ever going to see this, and then everybody sees it. I mean, I did this one movie that I'm not going to say, but I went to one of the stores on base in Iraq, and they had 700,000 copies of this movie on a rack. Oh my God, it's out.
Well, yeah, I saw the movie Spectral, and I said, why didn't I hear about this movie? And then you had your
yeah, I don't know what happened with that film. We in fact, so one of the actors from Spectral, Clayne Crawford, is one of my dear friends that I've known for we did The Great Raid together. We did Spectral together. We did this movie that's coming out, The Channel, which, by the way, I think everyone, especially this fan base, your fans, will love. Where was I going with this? And he and I did Spectral together, and that was a $70 million movie. And I thought, that's great, man.
I mean, it was good special effects, and it was great CQB. I mean, it was good. I mean, it was great, man. A lot of action, good gunplay. I was like, this is good. Why did I not hear about this movie?
Yeah, I don't know.
So weird. And he had James Badgedale, or what's his name?
James Badgedale, another great friend of ours who was in 13 Hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great stuff, man. So, do you ever get nervous before every audition?
I don't really, like I said, I get nervous when I'm lying. If I don't believe what I'm doing, I get nervous. And it's and often people don't really know that I'm nervous, but if I'm working with actors that I don't believe, also makes me nervous because I don't want to do bad work, and I don't want people to go, oh God, he's horrible in this, or so that outside of that, I don't really I don't get nervous. I get and I don't get starstruck either. I'm there's been one time that I thought that I got a little starstruck. I met De Niro, and I went in and did I had about an hour meeting with him and Leonardo DiCaprio. And when I walked in the room, I didn't know Leonardo DiCaprio was going to be in the room. And I walked in and went, holy shit. Oof, okay. This is what you call a power meeting. All right. So, and I got to play with those guys for a while, and that was fun. But as a rule, I'm at ease, man. I feel at home,
I think it's great, man, that you can do that. I had lunch at a cafe, and Chris Isaac, the singer, was in there, and we were all sitting down eating, and he got up paid. And then as soon as he walked out, every single woman jumped up and they ran to the windows and put their faces against the windows. Says, "Oh my God, this guy's so good looking." I was laughing because everyone was trying to behave themselves while he was there. You know, act normal. But no one is acting normal.
Precisely.
Yeah, that's great, man. Well, is there anything I missed, man? Any thoughts at all on what you've got going on as projects? Anything we should know? I know the channel's coming out, and I really want to watch. I think it's coming out on the 14th or maybe the 16th.
Yeah, and it's available on iTunes, pre-selling on iTunes right now. Yeah, the channel's great, and I'm doing another movie for the same company called Osiris right now, which is very much like Alien 2. It's like some former military contractors in the story wake up on come to on an alien, encapsulated on an alien ship, and it's just a lot of weapons work.
I don't know if you want to keep doing those roles. I love them. I mean, I saw you in Captain Roberts. Was that the
Captain Phillips?
Yeah. That was great. Yeah, Captain Phillips. That's what it was. Thank you. Thanks for reminding me. And you seem so confident in that movie. I mean, in those roles, you project yourself as a man of strength, and your voice is very low, and it's great, and you come off as credible. That's important to veterans. You know, you see some movies, you're like, oh, come on, and I think it was can't even name. Well, it was John Wayne. You know, he knocked these guys down, but like, is he really that credible? Is he believable? Richard Burton, knocked a guy out with one fist. In this movie, he's holding a drink in another hand. That this is just plain silly. But you don't come across as anything other than very credible, and I think that's why you have that huge fan base in the military law enforcement community.
Oh, thanks, man. I mean, we're trying to cast this Osiris film right now, and I'm producing that also. And there's when we were putting our list together of guys that could play, special operators, or former, sort of, I don't know, CAG guys or SEALs or whatever. There's not a lot in Hollywood. I mean, it's interesting how few guys I kind of believe in those roles. I mean, and it's worked out great for me because I'm like I said, I love doing it. But yeah, you're right. It's funny. It's like when somebody comes along that nails it, you go,
yeah,
really,
absolutely. And I think you're doing it. So I'm going to stop geeking out here, and I'm a big fan, and I'm glad you came on. Thankfully, we got you on here, guys. If you do not know of Max Martini and his movies, please check him out, man. I'm going to put the movies in the notes down on YouTube here, and check him out. He's got the channel coming out very, very soon. I think it's next week or the week after, and that is awesome.